They are very much together with the competitors. They do help them. Yes.
Okay. And in terms of London 2012, are you going to go and watch some of the diving or the other sport, or have you got an invitation to go and watch as an
No, we don't have. No, we don't have. I am an Olympian, obviously, and I went to Sydney and watched because one of my sons lives in Australia. But I went to Sydney, and I did go to Melbourne when the Commonwealth Games were on. I watched that, but I'm afraid the tickets are too expensive for me to watch. Again, you see, when I used to go and watch the Olympic Games, you could go and watch a session, and it would include, you'd have a jolly, a lot of competitions would be in that. But now when you go to a session, you're lucky if you see sort of 2 events, and then, and also, I don't know if it's the same now, but when we were in Sydney, my son did get me tickets for the diving events, because at that time there was a Southend girl diving, and he couldn't get me any tickets in the diving area, so we had to go into where the swimming pool was, and sort of look up. And when we got there, a lot of the seats in the diving area were empty, and that was because the seats were sold to corporate bodies, and people not really, and I did write actually to the Olympic Association and say, can you get me some tickets? I was in the Olympic Games, I'm going all the way to Australia to support, I'm a genuine supporter of them. And they wrote back and said, no, we can't get you any tickets, you're nothing special, And what I did in the end, or what my son did for me, he got in touch with the lady who was in charge of the tickets in Sydney, and he got me some tickets. But we get we don't get any preference of anything with the tickets, so I shall probably stay at home and watch on television. I can't afford the price of those tickets is absolutely too much for me, I'm afraid.
You mentioned Sydney there. I mean, do you have any particular, either from Sydney or other Olympic Games, other than those you competed in? Have you got any particular memories, either in diving or other sports, that really stand out?
No, not really. Just the absolute marvel of being there, and I'm very grateful that I was there. And I must say that I'm pleased I dived when I did. I know that probably if I did now what I did then, I would be much better financially, but I think the other advantages of diving when I did, for me, I'm not saying for anyone else, just for me, meant everything, and I look back with no regrets and such love for my sport and what I did.
We've got a picture here that we found online of you diving. So can you tell us a little bit more about the picture and where that is? And
yes, that's Helsinki. That's Helsinki. I did go on the Helsinki the 50 years. 50 years in 19. Oh yes, that was a funny story. I was teaching in Southend. And this was in 2002, and somebody came up to me and said, I saw you on television today. I said, oh yes, what was that? They told me the programme was 50 years ago. So I worked it out, and I thought, oh, that must be the Olympic Games, because in those days I'd never seen myself dive. Because they didn't have video cameras and things in those days. So I thought, oh. So when I got home, I found this piece on television 50 years ago, and I thought that must be the Olympic trials at Blackpool. I'll be able to see myself dive. So I told my children, they said, you must get it. So I wrote up to the BBC, and it cost me this was in those days, I mean it was quite a lot, it cost me over £100 to get this video, you see, of 50 years ago. And it came, and I put it on, and it wasn't the Olympic trials at all. It was a programme which was 50 years ago, the national championships And of course, in those days, I told you we were open air diving. You know, the national. We were part of the summer, the summer attractions, and this was held. I think it was Morecambe, and it had one dive of me. And first of all, I missed it completely. I had to back it up and do it. But the main thing about it was the England beauty competition. You know. So that was my 50 years ago. But this was Helsinki. Yeah, this was Helsinki, 1952. And in 2002 they had a reunion, and we went back and we sort of went over to the various places where we dived. And that pool is still there. That pool is still there. And of course when I went back I visited my son in Sydney, and the Sydney pool of course is still there. But you see, you can go to Sydney and you can find a 10-metre board. You don't have to. Here, if I was a diver now, I would have to go to Garrans. I would have to go there. That's the only 10-metre that's. And as I say, when I was diving, it was an open air pool. You can't go there in the winter. But in other countries, you see, they've got all these facilities within distance for all the public to go to. But yes, that was Helsinki. Lovely place, lovely place. I wonder what dive I was doing there. Straight there, coming out of a dive. I have got lots of. I've got my scrapbooks at home with various bits and pieces. So I can. Yeah, that's Helsinki.